Good morning, welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is on a phonological process called fronting. I've encountered this process throughout age groups. What a phonological process refers to is a pattern of errors that a child is exhibiting. So fronting is the one we're going to talk about today. Fronting involves the pattern where K and G sounds, which should be produced down in our larynx, or using kind of air pressure coming up from our larynx, are instead produced at the front of the mouth, hence the name fronting. So an example that you might be familiar with is if you know a 2 or 3-year-old that calls cookies tooties or says, I want to pet the titty tat. Those are T for K substitutions. We also would typically expect a D for G substitution. So I'm ready to dough instead of I'm ready to go. These are examples of how fronting would show up. Something important to know about all phonological processes is that they are developmentally appropriate. There's a point in a child's language and speech development where it would be expected for a child to use this substitution. When a child is learning to talk, they're also learning to coordinate language with movement, right? So thought process, what's going on in the brain, the linguistic component of communication. They're coordinating that with the motor movement of all the muscles involved in speech, in respiration, and movement in general. So if your child is using this phonological process, don't worry. They're actually kind of are outsmarting themselves. They're skipping a step. So let me teach you how to teach your child how to move sounds from the front of their mouth to the back of their mouth for K and G pronunciation. In articulation, we always want to practice our target sounds, in this case K and G, in isolation first. That means practicing the sounds as they are. We can practice G in repetition, so that would look like g, 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 g. We can practice K in a sustained phonation, so we're aiming for k. When you're demonstrating both of these sounds for your child, see if you can draw attention to your mouth. There's not a lot of information we can get visually for these sounds because most of what's happening is happening in the back of my throat, but look what you can see. Ga, 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 ga. What is happening when I make the G sound? What's happening when I make the K sound? See if you can put words to the shape that your tongue and your throat are making. The way I explain it to kids is almost that you're trying to swallow your tongue. And a lot of times I'll start articulation practice with a swallow, and that is to bring our sensory awareness to our neck region. Even touching here while you're talking, you'll feel some vibrations. That's your voice box at work. That's your larynx. Those are your vocal folds vibrating away and producing your voice for you. So this is where k, g come from, right? Where you can feel the vibration. For most kids, it's easier to practice K before G. Experiment with your child. Everybody's a little bit different and see which one is easier for them to make. If you're practicing G with them, I recommend using like a touch cue so you can demonstrate the starting and stopping of the movement as well as the sound. Go, go, go. You can model and demonstrate this word, sound, action, movement. For the K sound, it can be helpful to transition from a really simple sound, H. So that keeps your vocal folds open as they need to be for k. And so it would look like this. So what did you notice there? I noticed that my K only happens when my tongue is going up and touching kind of the back of my throat and constricting or cutting off that airflow. So the whole back of my tongue is blocking the back of my throat. So I'm going from just pushing air up through an open vocal tract to now quickly closing and then opening that entire tract with this big mass, the back of my tongue. You try it, see if your kid can do it too. Once you've been able to find success imitating these sounds in isolation, g, 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 or k, then we can move to adding a vowel. And we might practice words like ka, ke, ki, ko, ku, ga, ge, gi, go, gu. These help the child practice not only making that sound, but then also transitioning into the movement needed for the next sound that's coming. And this is where articulation gets tricky. A lot of times, kids who have articulation delays have a lot to say, and they're trying to move their articulators fast enough to be able to keep up with their brain. In my personal experience as a speech therapist working with a toddler population, sometimes the brightest and most thoughtful kids have the most difficult time producing sounds. And the way I think about it is that they're not necessarily feeling in their body. They're very much in their head, less so in their body. So this is where tactile feedback, weighted blankets, collaboration with an occupational therapist, physical therapist can be really, really helpful. Another activity to try if you're feeling fairly confident in your child is to give them some water and teach them how to gargle it in the back of their throat. Of course, we don't want them to choke on it, so this isn't a great one to start out practice with, but as they advance in their skills and you grow more confident in their ability, this can be a really fun way to practice this movement. You guys, I always have so much to say on these topics. I'm going to leave it here. Let me know what follow-up questions you have. Please subscribe and share my channel. Thanks for tuning in.